So Don Lemon was arrested and now released for being a part of the crowd that entered and stormed the church. And it has the internet going crazy. You have a lot of people saying Don Lemon was arrested for exercising his First Amendment. People are saying Don Lemon was arrested for simply doing his job, which is being an independent journalist. You know, dictatorship on the way. Oh my gosh, suppressing freedom of speech, all of this stuff. So we're actually gonna get down to the bottom of everything because I have his indictment pulled up on what he was actually charged with. Excuse me, because y'all know me, I'm huge on facts over feelings. I don't really care about the emotion side of it. Was it right or was it wrong? That's pretty much it. Now, my initial reaction to all of this is on my TikTok already. I said Don was wrong. Don was wrong because you enter in a church, a place of worship where people don't care about the outside world, the worldly things. They focusing on one thing right now. And you go in there and make it political. So, you know, being in front of the pastor face and the pastor asked for him to leave and he didn't, you know, I already assumed my feelings already was that he was wrong for doing that. But then more things started coming out. So I have the indictment pulled up. I have a lot of different things. So let's just jump straight into it. I'm going to start with the reactions after Don was arrested. If you haven't seen a video of him going storming the church and all that, go do that. I'm not going to play that because it's pretty much, you know, it's viral. Everybody know what happened. Let's start off with some reactions from around the world when people first found out that Don was arrested. I'm only going to play two. Start with...
They arrested Don Lemon last night while he was working, mind you. The same folks that pardoned all those riders on that early day in January back in 2021, y'all know what I'm talking about, right? They calling Don an insurrectionist for being a journalist, for doing his job, for asking questions, being on the ground, being on site, going to the location that he heard about and just asking folks questions.
That's we gotta make sure we accurate here. This is not the truth. This is not the truth, literally based on the information we have on the internet, on Don's live stream. Don didn't just hear about what happened and showed up and happened to be the independent journalist asking questions to people. Don was on his own live stream with the crowd that was headed to commit the crime. We're going to get into that as well, but I just want to make sure that we have the facts. This is what I'm talking about when he was first arrested, how a lot of people came to the internet on straight emotions. I don't know why. I don't know if bro loves Don. I don't know. But this is simply not the truth at all.
On site, going to the location that he heard about and just asking folks questions. That sounds like free speech. Am I right or am I mistaken? Because I thought we was all about free speech in this country. I thought you was allowed to ask questions, and as a journalist, your job is to ask questions.
And then see, we get into the free speech part. Again, it has nothing to do with free speech. Don has said some of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life for years, and he's never been locked up for that. So it has nothing to do with free speech. He's been saying dumb stuff the whole week leading up to his arrest. Again, when you look at the indictment, you're going to see that nothing in the indictment talks about what he said. But that was a talking point that everybody went with. Free speech. He's just asking questions. He didn't do anything. He's getting locked up for just asking questions. That's not what happened at all.
And to figure out what the hell going on. So if they're arresting Don for asking questions, the message is we need to shut the fuck up or you'll be next. And
see, I'm not sure, you know, again, I'm not going to accuse bro of like fear mongering or any of that, but that's literally not the message at all. Because that's what a lot of people have been saying, not just him. Saying, oh, that means that we don't need to ask questions at all. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of issues in this world that does kind of show that our speech is being suppressed, such as TikTok being bought by US. Now you can't say certain things and all that. They censor. But we have to make sure that we're on topic. That way we can actually attack the problem and solve it. But if we shift and move the goalposts, or we take them, this may not even be moving the goalposts. If we just take bad examples of suppressing speech, it's going to be hard to get to a solution. Don Lemon's situation was not because he was asking questions. That's not what happened at all. Now, let's see if we can check out another reaction from a creator on TikTok.
They just arrested Don Lemon, a journalist, for covering a peaceful, nonviolent protest in a goddamn church that just simply exposed the pastor for being a fucking ICE agent. They arrested Don Lemon, a journalist, for covering a fucking story before they arrested any of these ICE agents that killed people.
Again, we have to be specific and accurate. He wasn't just covering the church protests. He wasn't just covering it. Covering it would mean he somehow heard it going on and he walked there, drove there, whatever. He arrived on site. It was already happening. And then he started asking questions. What's going on? He never asked that one time, actually. What's going on? That's because he knew what was happening. He knew what was happening. Now, if he happened to arrive to the church and people were coming outside and he's asking the members of the congregation that's leaving, what's going on? What's going on in there? Maybe he stepped inside and was just filming and saying, I don't really know what's going on. And it sounds like they're saying this and that. That would be just covering, just asking questions. But again, they're making it seem like he had no idea what was going on. Like he just pulled up.
Citizens who were non-threatening. I don't even want to know what's about to happen next. The implications of this is like, what do you do now? What do we do now when the Constitution means nothing and we can't even use it to defend ourselves? I think they said he has court today.
And see, it's tough because, again, basically the narrative that's being spread around the world is, what do we do now? We can't even speak. We can't even speak. We get locked up. When that's not what happened to Don. Now, those are just reactions. Obviously, their comment section is also crazy of people saying so many different things. Just a journalist. What happened to freedom of press? You know, feels like we're in the 60s. What happened to freedom of press? Insane. You know, obviously, the creators, fan base, it's all a community. So everybody is somewhat like-minded. Not a bad thing, but obviously everybody in the comment section is outraged as well. Now, let's jump to Don Lemon and what he said when he was released from jail.
I want to thank everybody for their support. It truly means the world to me. I have no idea what's going on because obviously I haven't seen anything. I have spent my entire career covering the news. I will not stop now. In fact, there is no more important time than right now, this very moment, for a free and independent media that shines a light on the truth and holds those in power accountable. Again, I will not stop now. I will not stop ever. Last night, the DOJ sent a team of federal agents to arrest me in the middle of the night for something that I've been doing for the last 30 years, and that is.
Now, if he has been doing what he did with his church protests for the last 30 years, he should have been arrested each year of the 30, because this was not the same thing. This was not just covering the news, Don.
Is covering the news. The First Amendment of the Constitution protects that work for me and for countless of other journalists who do what I do. I stand with all of them, and I will not be silenced. I look forward to my day in court. Thank you all.
again, just, I mean, it's straight lies at this point. Because he keeps on talking about, I was just there covering the news. Now, let's just jump straight into what actually happened. Again, I'm not going to play the before. I mean, I'm not going to play him storming the church and all of that stuff like that. But let's just jump straight into what, in my opinion, what implicated him as a criminal in this situation. Because everybody keeps on saying Don Lemon was an innocent person. He was just exercising his First Amendment, freedom of speech, freedom of press. He was just doing his job. He just pulled up, right? He just pulled up. He was just covering the news. He was just covering what was going on. Okay, so let's actually watch what implicated Don Lemon. This video right here.
Did some reconnaissance on the ground, speaking to an organization there that's gearing up to for resistance and protest.
Mind you, this crowd behind him are future criminals. They're preparing for a crime, right? This is not emotions and feelings right here. If we know that going inside of a church and interrupting a place of worship is a crime, the criminals, the future criminals, are preparing for that right behind them. Keep that in mind.
Been surprised, pleasantly surprised to see the community coming together. Diverse community. If you see this, when we first pulled up, we were like, wait a minute, which operation are we at? And as it turns out, because we were like, well, this is kind of MAGA coded, right? So the American flag or whatever, but these are resistance.
It's MAGA coded because he's seen an American flag, because he saw an American flag. Now, don't get me wrong. You can be an independent journalist and pick a side, right? There's independent journalists for the Republican side, for sure. You know what I mean? Of course. So he can be a diehard independent journalist for the Democrat side. But you seen a flag, an American flag, and you assumed it was MAGA coded. Because the people who are protesting ICE and going crazy and fighting ICE and saying F ICE and all of that, they are Democrats. He literally just snitched on himself. They are Democrats. They are liberals. So the second someone has an American flag, for some reason, he's assuming that they're the ops. Oh, they must love this country. Like that's a crime. They must actually be in favor of ICE. That's a crime. I mean, it's...
Since protesters, they're planning an operation that we're going to follow them on. I can't tell you exactly what they're doing, but it's called Operation Pull Up.
Did you all hear that? So the criminals that are planning a crime right behind him, he knows. He just said it. I can't tell you guys. I can't disclose it. It's called Operation Pull Up. But he has prior knowledge that they are planning a crime.
And I can't tell you exactly. These are resistance protesters. They're planning an operation that we're going to follow them on. I can't tell you exactly what they're doing, but it's called Operation Pull Up. And it's Takima Armstrong, and she has been doing this since George Floyd, Dante Wright, and others.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is what that is what implicated himself. That is what did it. Him saying he knows that a crime was about to take place, unless he just doesn't know his laws. They love to talk about First Amendment, but First Amendment also includes the freedom of religion, of, like, you know what I mean? The don't interrupt the place of worship and all of that. That includes it as well in the First Amendment. But he is sitting here, I guess, unaware that the First Amendment is also a part of freedom of religion and not interrupting in place of worship. And he's saying he knows what's about to happen behind him and what they're plotting. And he cannot share what's going on. That is what made him guilty of a crime. He had prior knowledge that a crime was about to take place.
We're doing this since George Floyd, Dante Wright, and others, where they surprise people, catch them off guard, and hold them to account. And so that's what we're doing here. And then after we do this operation, you'll see it live. And these operations are surprise operations again.
Listen to what he just said. Please catch it. Listen again.
Can't tell you where after we do this operation, you'll see it live account. And so that's what we're doing here. And then after we do this operation, you'll see it live. And these operations are surprising here. And then after we do this operation, you'll see.
Are you here? Are you catching the part where he says we? After we do this operation. Remember, the people behind him are criminals, future criminals, plotting a crime. And he says, after we do this operation, he did it to himself. This was not a guy that just pulled up to the church, just asking questions. No, he has prior knowledge to a crime that is about to happen. Again, I used this analogy on my video today on TikTok. And I said, imagine if this group of people right behind Don was planning to do a home invasion, planning to rob my house. Right. And they were in a parking lot talking about it. They're going to go through the front door. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. Don is well aware of it. And he's there. He's there on a live stream talking about it. I have no idea. I'm in my house thinking it's going to be a beautiful night. Don Lemon is in the parking lot with future home invaders. They ended up busting the door down in my crib. Don Lemon come up in there with a microphone, put it in my face, say, how do I feel about what's going on right now? Don Lemon's a criminal. You're telling me you knew that these people was about to bust down my door and you in here with your microphone asking me how I feel and you talking about you an independent journalist? That's not journalism. I'm sorry. That's not journalism. And imagine me finding out later that he was on a live stream with the people that bust down my door and robbed my house. Imagine if I found out he was on a live stream hours prior telling his audience, yeah, we're about to go somewhere and I can't tell y'all, but he knows he's coming to my house with this crew because they about to bust my door down. And he's on a live stream talking about, I can't tell y'all where we going, but we about to go do this operation. Don Lemon is guilty. Now, it's different if that same crowd busts my door down. Don Lemon happened to hear about it because he has different police feeders and news outlets and all that stuff. So he drives to the scene either during or afterwards. And then he is being an independent journalist. Yo, Jay, what happened? What went down? What did you see? What did you hear? That's journalism. But coming in my house with the criminals, Don, you are also a criminal. I don't really understand why nobody understands that. Now, that was just, it gets worse. It gets worse. Let me share the next video that, in my opinion, implicates him as being a part of the crime.
Okay, we'll see.
After we do this operation, you'll see it.
Calm things down.
Everybody's
Prayer. Yeah, okay, we'll see. Let me do this. I can't see anything on that. That's okay, side. I got it. Just park. Just hit park. Twitch, we're back. Sunday morning church. Yeah, okay, we'll see.
After we do this operation.
Constitution and the First Amendment to freedom of speech.
Wrong video. My apologies. It was supposed to be a longer video of him in the car discussing a little bit more. But anyways, that, ladies and gentlemen, is what implicated him as being, it's dang near like a getaway driver of a drive-by, whatever you want to call it, bank robbery. The getaway driver gets charged as well, not just the ones who actually went in there and did the heinous act. the getaway driver gets charged as well. Now, the last video I'm going to play is an interesting one as well. And it doesn't help Don's case at all because it kind of gives him, it makes it seem like he had a motive. So I'm going to play another video. Oh, I actually found a video that I wanted to play. I'm sorry I'm bouncing back and forth, but I believe I found the video I wanted to play.
So they're getting the operation together again. This is an operation that is secret, that they invited folks out. Can't tell you what is going to happen, but you're going to watch it live unfold here on the Don Lemon Show.
What are we talking about? He just said these future criminals that are about to go commit a crime invited us out here. I can't tell you what's going to go down, though, but you're going to see it on my show. It's going to come on live. It's going to drop live on my show. Stay tuned. We about to go commit a crime. I don't know. Let me just play it again. I know my ears cannot be deceiving me right now.
Can't tell you operation that is they're getting the operation together again. This is an operation that is secret, that they invited folks out. Can't tell you what is going to happen, but you're going to watch it live unfold here on the Don Lemon Show. There are this for this reason it may look like MAGA coded.
Y'all people just happened. The crime that they're discussing almost his audio almost caught it. So they intentionally moved away so that way his audio did not catch the plot or the plan, whatever you want to call it. Everything right here is bro, this is so crazy because I've never seen a case where somebody is claiming to be innocent and saying their speech is being suppressed. I was just being a journalist. And on his own podcast, show, whatever you want to call it, on his own show, he outed himself. They always talk about how the internet is amazing, but it is always somebody's downfall. Don Lemon just did this to himself.
But there's a reason they have so many white people here. I'm just going to be honest. It's because of the operation that they're doing today. It's important to have allies, as they said, white allies here. Have so many white people here. I'm just going to be. It may look like MAGA coded, but there's a reason they have so many white people here. I'm just going to be honest. It's because of the operation that they're doing today. It's important to have allies, as they said, white allies here. So that is what I could say. I turned our camera off of them because they're giving some critical information here. But there we go. Everybody's ready to go.
I mean, the guy literally, I almost couldn't get over the fact that he said, I'll be honest, there's a lot of white people here. It does look MAGA coded because there's a lot of white people here, but we needed them. We needed more white people a part of this crime. It makes it look more official. Oh my gosh. And then on top of that, this man literally turned the cameras off because they were about to get going. Let's play this last clip one more time.
It's what I could say. I turned our camera off of them because they're giving some critical information here. But there.
I turned our camera off because they're talking too much, too in detail about the crime. They're giving out too much information about the crime. You guys might find out and actually call the police. So I had to turn the camera off. I had to turn it this way, or else we would give up where the crime is taking place. This is insane. And mind you, there are people defending him. And there are people saying, it could have been you. No, it couldn't. If I knew a crime was about to take place and I so happened to be 2 feet away from the people who were about to go commit a crime, I would call the police. Just me. I'm innocent. Sir, I just happened to be next to somebody that was about to commit a crime. And I'm just calling to let you know, please go prevent it. Stop them. This man is, oh my gosh. Okay. So again, this was the huge part of when I knew he was guilty. I put my opinion out. I said, this is what implicated him into the crime. This is what did it. Not him at the church. Him at the church, yeah, it was annoying, all up in the pastor face and all that. But I was like, bro, he's literally admitting that he knew the crime was about to happen. And it sounds like he's a part of it. He's saying we a lot. He's saying he's making sure that the crime is not caught in his audio or not on camera. Let's step away because they're giving more detail. He knows about it because he's already admitted that on the camera, on his show. Now, let's go into where, before we get into the indictment, let's go into where I think it also hurts him, because it sounds like he had a motive. And that doesn't help his case either. Because not only was he a part of the crowd before it happened, it sounds like he's defending what is happening as well. Now, again, he can be an independent journalist for the left, right? For the Democrats, for liberals. He could be an independent journalist, diehard liberal. That's fine. But you have to listen to what he said here about how he feels about the congregation inside of that church. He doesn't know these people, remember? He's just an independent journalist that's asking questions. Well, it seems like he has a very strong opinion on those people inside of that church.
And there's a certain degree of entitlement. I think people who are, and there's a certain degree of entitlement. I think people who are, in the religious groups like that, it's not the type of Christianity that I practice, but I think that they're entitled, and that entitlement comes from a supremacy, a white supremacy. And they think that this country was built for them, that it is a Christian country, when actually we left England because we wanted religious freedom. It's religious freedom, but only if you're a Christian and only if you're a white male, pretty much. And so, yeah, I absolutely 100%, but it's an intimidation tactic. And, I said, I don't understand how I've become the face of it when I was a journalist. I do understand that I'm the biggest name there. And I'm also, as I was on with my producer.
I don't even want to play the last part because he's going to piss me off. But you see the motive? Again, he wasn't there just asking questions. One, he was a part of the crowd before the crime went down. He went inside feeling some type of way, clearly feeling some type of way. And now he's on a podcast afterwards saying those people, their Christianity is centered around white supremacy. Mind you, he gets banged by a white man every single night. Please don't forget that. So he gets banged by a white man every single night, yet he is sitting here continuing all the time talking about white supremacy, white supremacy, white supremacy. So is your husband a white supremacist, or is he different? It's crazy. But again, to the point, this is displaying a motive. Now it's almost like, okay, cool. When you heard church, when you heard the mission, when you heard about the crime that was about to take place, it sounded like you said, let me get in on it because I got to get some feelings off my chest. Because you didn't even know these people from a can of paint. Yet he's talking about their Christianity is centered around white supremacy. You don't even know them. You don't even know them. So he's doing it to himself. I'll play the last part just so y'all can hear it. It pisses me off hearing it, though.
I was on with my producers this morning. You and Kylie talk all the time. My producers were saying, I said, how did I become the face of this? And my producer said, Don, you're a gay black man in America. And there's a certain degree of entitlement. I think
nobody cares about that, bro. Nobody cares about that. They always want to make people care about it. Nobody cares about that. Again, he implicated himself. And now let's get into the indictment on what he was actually charged with, because a lot of people a lot of people keep saying he was charged with, exercising his First Amendment. He was just asking questions. Y'all heard all the different reactions we played earlier in the video. So let's get into what he was actually charged with. And must I say, you will not be surprised. You would not be surprised, everyone. Let's see. So these defendants right here are most of the people that was in that crowd, that was in that parking lot. Most of these people, I'm not sure which angle is best for you guys, but let's just do this one because I think you guys would rather read and see my face. You can still hear me. So these defendants, most of these defendants was in the crowd. Armstrong, the very first name, is the person who orchestrated this entire thing. But you can see Don Lemon. I don't know if it will let me highlight. You can see Don Lemon's name right in the middle. So now I've already went through this indictment, read everything, and highlighted some important factors in this indictment. And you guys just let me know if he's guilty or not of what they put in the indictment. So it goes to say that in the service, the church's pastor and congregation were then exercising and seeking to exercise the First Amendment right of religious freedom at a place of religious worship, a right that is also protected by a federal statute. Sorry if I said it wrong. I'm sorry. Codified at title blah 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 blah. So it's kind of ironic that they brought this up, because as everybody is screaming in the entire world that Don was arrested for exercising his First Amendment, he actually was violating the church's congregation's First Amendment. He was violating other people's First Amendment as he's going on TV saying his First Amendment was violated. I find that quite interesting, the irony of that whole thing. After the service commenced, a group of approximately 20 to 40 agitators, that's a lot of people, including all of the defendants named in this indictment, entered the church in a coordinated takeover style attack and engaged in acts of oppression, intimidation, threats, interference, and physical obstruction, alleged hearing. Now, Don obviously didn't partake in all of these. However, intimidation was one that stood out to me the most, because a lot of people can claim they were intimidated. Just because you feel like you didn't intimidate somebody doesn't mean that they didn't feel intimidated. And one thing that comes to mind is when he was all up in that pastor's face and the pastor asked for him to leave, asked for Don Lemon to leave, and he did. Don Lemon stayed there, still had the camera in his face. You don't think Jesus would like this? Intimidation. Now, I don't think Don was a part of the others, but he for sure was. He could have been accused of being intimidating. As a result of defendants' conduct, the pastor and congregation were forced to terminate the church's worship service. Congregants fled the church building out of fear for their safety. Other congregants took steps to implement an emergency plan, and young children were left to wonder, as one child put it, if their parents were going to die. This is bad, especially when children are involved again. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Count one, they're charged with conspiracy against the right of religious freedom, a place of worship. This is where I say his own show set him up. His own show implicated him as a criminal, to having prior knowledge that a crime was about to take place. Now he is a co-conspirator. So let me fast forward. Let me get down to some important things. All right, right here it says all defendants met at a shopping center for a pre-op briefing. Armstrong, who was the person that orchestrated this entire thing, got everybody together. Her and Allen advised other co-conspirators, including defendants Kelly, Don Lemon, and others, about the target of their operation. So he had prior knowledge that they were going to target a church and storm the church, and provided instruction on how the operation would be conducted once they arrived at the church. So Don Lemon had prior knowledge that they were going to storm a church and how everything was going to go down inside of the church. So he knew where the crime was going to take place. and he knew exactly how it was going to happen. And he did nothing to stop it. He joined it, actually. He turned the cameras off. He helped them, actually. Down here, it says, on the morning of January 18th, defendant Don Lemon began live streaming on his internet-based show, The Don Lemon Show, where he explained to his audience that he was in Minnesota with an organization that was gearing up for a resistance operation against the federal government's immigration policies. And he took steps to maintain operational secrecy by reminding certain co-conspirators to not disclose the target of the operation and stepped away momentarily so his mic would not accidentally divulge certain portions of the planning session. That's literally what we just talked about. That's literally what we just talked about that happened on his show. How he was intentionally stepping away, trying to make sure his audio don't catch it. How he was intentionally saying, put your camera down. I turn the cameras off. How he was intentionally saying, I can't disclose where we're going. I can't tell anybody, but we're doing this. He did it to himself. During a discussion with defendant Armstrong, again, the leader, at the pre-op briefing, Don thanked the defendant Armstrong for what she was doing. He thanked the lead criminal, he thanked her and assured her, this is why I put this in red, and he assured her that he was not saying what's going on. Basically saying wasn't disclosing the target of the operation. So he thanked the top honcho criminal for what she was doing and said, I promise you I won't tell nobody. Bro, this is crazy. Now, I'm just trying to figure out, as part of the defense team, what can you say? Don Lemon's defense team, what can you say? This is literally what happened on a live stream. Defendant Armstrong, maybe they can, they can push back on that because we didn't see him thank her and reassured her directly, but he definitely did those things on camera, making sure that he was stepping away, making sure that he didn't catch what was going on camera or with his microphone. But maybe they can push back a little bit, saying that he didn't directly assure her that he was going to keep everything disclosed. Armstrong, the leader, explained that Operation Pull-Up was a blunt operation, which agitators, explaining what it was, explaining what the crime is. And she told Don Lemon that that's what they're about to do. And Don Lemon said he would see her there. Okay. So now she told Don Lemon, hey, I'm about to go commit a crime. And Don Lemon said, great, I'll meet you there. Cool. Completely innocent still, somehow. Before heading to the church to join his co-conspirators, defendant Don Lemon advised his live stream audience that, I put this in red, we're going to head to the operation. Again, we're not going to give any of the information away. Basically what they were doing. So again, doing all he can to keep this crime disclosed, to make sure his audience doesn't know what's about to happen. While en route to the church, one of the defendants told Don Lemon that they had to catch up to the others. And Don Lemon replied, let's go catch up. And because he was still live streaming, Don Lemon instructed Richardson and an unidentified male, don't give anything away. Oh my gosh. Don't divulge information about the operation and advise his audience. We can't say too much. We don't want to give it up. I don't even have any commentary on that. This is self-explanatory. This is absolutely ridiculous. While inside of the church, Armstrong, Don Lemon intimidated the church's congregants and pastors by physically occupying most of the main aisle and rows of chairs near the front of the church. Now, that's the only part I highlighted because Don Lemon could be charged with this. Don Lemon intimidated the pastor, and he could have been occupying most of the main aisle and roasted chairs near the front of the church. Now, all the other stuff, the other defendants can be charged with. But Don Lemon could be charged with that. Don Lemon told his live stream audience about congregants leaving the church and about a young man who Don Lemon could see was frightened, scared, and crying. And Don Lemon observed that the congregants' reactions were understandable because the experience was traumatic and uncomfortable, which he said was the purpose. So he knew that he was a part of a crowd that was going to cause a lot of trauma and make a lot of people uncomfortable. And he said that was the purpose. I knew it was going to go down. I knew how it was going to make them feel. And instead of warning people that it was about to happen, because kids are there, instead of warning anybody, I'm going to get in the pastor's face. I'm going to see kids crying and not tell anybody to stop. I'm just asking questions, remember? It's crazy. As the operation continued, defendant Don Lemon acknowledged the nature of it by expressing surprise that the police hadn't yet arrived at the church. You didn't call them, Don. You should have called them. They probably could have met you there and stopped this whole thing. And admitted, knowing that the whole point of the operation is to disrupt. Again, just admitting left and right, implicating himself. With other co-conspirators standing nearby, defendants Don Lemon and others approached the pastor, which we saw on camera, and largely surrounded him to his front and both sides, stood in close proximity to the pastor in an attempt to oppress and intimidate him. I told y'all that he was going to get him on intimidation. And physically obstructed his freedom of movement while Don Lemon peppered him with questions to promote the operation's message, which we saw on live stream. Although the pastor told defendant Don Lemon and others to leave the church, defendant Don Lemon and the other defendants ignored the pastor's request and did not immediately leave the church, which we saw on live stream. At one point, Don Lemon posted himself at the main door of the church where he confronted some congregants and physically obstructed them as they tried to exit the church building to challenge them with facts about the U.S. immigration policy. Again, let's just say Don Lemon pulled up to the scene, right? Let's just say he actually was being a journalist, because this is not being a journalist. Again, I always said it was wrong to pull up to a church. What do these people have anything to do with anything, bro? It's Sunday. They're just trying to serve the Lord, worship. And you in folks' face talking about immigration. But it's even worse. It's even worse than just that, because everything that I said was a hypothetical. He didn't just pull up. He wasn't just asking questions. This was at the very end, after he done committed 1,000 crimes. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what Don Lemon is being charged with. Now, again, his defense team, I'm not really sure what they can push back on to make him get off. You ask me, he's guilty. I think maybe they can get off on him, maybe reassuring the leader of this crime. Maybe he didn't reassure her directly, but maybe he did. Maybe somebody can prove that. But he definitely let the live stream know several times that he would not be disclosing what's going on. So I'm led to believe that he probably told her, "Hey, I know I got a camera," because you got to think about it. She probably knows who Don Lemon is, but she also sees that camera. So she's probably like, "Hey, I don't mind you being here, but just make sure you don't," you know what I mean? And he probably was like, "Yeah, I got you." So that was very possible. That's a easy possibility. But I don't know what the defense's argument would be to save Don Lemon. And he is so confident. "Oh, I'm going to get off this. You're not going to silence me." This has nothing to do with free speech. Nothing you said. If y'all, again, that whole indictment, did y'all see anything on there outside of him asking a question about immigration? Did y'all see anything on there saying you were being charged with what you said? outside of saying I know a crime is being taken place. That's totally different. But just free speech in general. Like, hey, I'm just speaking on ICE. I know everybody hates ICE. I'm speaking on ICE, and I got arrested for just saying F ICE. That's not what happened. He didn't get arrested for pushing an ICE propagandized message. You got arrested for implicating yourself on your own show, for having prior knowledge that a crime was about to take place, and you didn't tell nobody. And you said we yourself, we are about to go here. We this, we that. He did it to himself. This isn't a case of free speech being suppressed. Don didn't get locked up because he was just doing his job. A real journalist, let's just take a regular journalist like on the news, they would have showed up afterwards. Maybe during, if they really got the word that fast that something was going down. But 95% of the time, maybe 99%, it would have been afterwards. Nobody in the history of journalism is with people before it goes down. They commit a crime. You're asking questions during the crime. And then you're saying, I'm an independent journalist. I'm just asking questions. So that is what the indictment says on what he's going to be charged with. I don't think he's going to get off on this. I think he's going to be found guilty. Now, sentencing and all that stuff, totally different. He can just get probation. He could just get 60 days in jail, 60 days in prison. Who knows? Now, I do agree that, in the grand scheme of things, Pam Bondi, FBI, government in general, y'all see how quick they was able to arrest Don Lemon? They can do that with everybody on the Epstein files, but they choose not to. They can do that with so many other powerful people, but they choose not to. Don Lemon just found out that he's just not part of that club. He's just like us. You do something and you will get locked up next day. Epstein files, they can eat people. They can do all of these crazy different things that the Epstein files is releasing. We'll never even know who it is. Names are redacted. And the names that are mentioned, nothing happens. They just go on about their life. So I do see two sides to everything. Now, if we're just talking specifically about Don Lemon, he was dead wrong. He'll probably be charged. But in the grand scheme of things, I do agree with the thought process as well as of the government being able to go after us regular people so quick. If I don't pay my taxes, if I go choose to rob a Publix, I'm going to be arrested very quick. But Tim Walsh can rob all of America. Tim Walsh can rob all of Minnesota for billions. And the only thing he gets is, I'm going to just step down from my position. Don't worry, everybody. I stole billions of dollars, but I'm going to resign because I feel bad. I don't want to get in trouble. Like that's crazy to me. People are above the law. Now, again, right is right and wrong is wrong. So just because they're above the law, I don't think that makes Don Lemon above the law. I don't think he should be above the law just because other people can. Right is right and wrong is wrong. So if Don Lemon don't get locked up for this, then to be honest, that's just even worse because we just going to trickle down to regular people not getting locked up for anything now. So, we have to continue to make baby steps in the right direction. What Don did was wrong. He should get locked up for it. Whatever. He should be guilty, found guilty for it. I'm not saying I hope he gets locked up or none of that. You know what I mean? I don't know the guy. So I'm not saying I hope he gets arrested, none of that. But according to what they charged him with, I'm pretty sure he'll probably be found guilty. But a lot of those people on that Epstein files is extremely guilty. Way worse than just storming a church. Way worse. And they will never be charged. They can just go about their life. So that also bothers me. I wouldn't maybe say bothers me, but That's stuff that I think about as well. And I'm like, man, where are we as a society? But that's a conversation for another day. But I just wanted to share this, man, because a lot of people are confused about Don Lemon, and a lot of people are, misled, and their emotions are taking their opinions all over the place, because Don was not arrested for free speech. Ironically, Don was arrested for violating other people's free speech or other people's First Amendment, which is the crazy irony of it all. So I don't know, man. Let me know what y'all think. I appreciate y'all for supporting, liking. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I will see y'all on the next one.